This video is an introduction to the Network File System Protocol, or NFS, specifically as it relates to RJS Software's WebDocs iSeries product. NFS was designed in the 1980s to allow clients to access files from a server over a network. It's available out of the box on most operating systems, or on Windows via the Windows Services for Unix package. While other network file system protocols are available, NFS has a robust iSeries implementation, and the additional benefit of being an open standard. Links to instructions for configuring NFS on various operating systems are available below this video. NFS uses a client-server model. Since we're talking about NFS as it relates to WebDocs iSeries, we will restrict our discussion to using the iSeries as an NFS client, with a Linux or a Windows file server as the corresponding NFS server. Using NFS with WebDocs iSeries has been advantageous for administrators who have struggled with low disk space or long IFS backups on the iSeries. Storing WebDocs documents on a remote file server may alleviate the need to upgrade disk on the iSeries, often an expensive proposal, and it allows for greater flexibility with your backup routines. We will address questions specific to WebDocs iSeries in subsequent articles. The remainder of this video will explain how NFS works, particularly in relation to OS 400 on the iSeries. The NFS server may have one or more parts of its file system shared, and these shares are made available to clients via a process known as mounting. The server makes the share available to the network, and the client mounts the share into its own file system. You'll learn about mounting in more detail in a moment. The client's file system for our purpose is the Integrated File System, or IFS, on the iSeries. The IFS is a POSIX-compliant file system, and if you've used Linux or Unix, it'll look familiar to you. It uses the same file and directory structure. If you're more familiar with Windows, there are some differences to note. Instead of assigning drive letters to different file systems, C drive for the hard disk, D drive for the DVD drive, E drive for your external USB drive, the IFS orders everything into a hierarchy under root, which is denoted as a /. Everything under root is a folder, subfolder, or file. By default, the contents of the folders under root on the IFS are stored on the local hard disk, on the operating system's partition, but other file systems can be made available by mounting. To understand mounting, consider this example. On most modern Linux distributions, there is a folder called Media CD-ROM. It's an empty folder on the hard disk initially, but when a CD is loaded, it mounts the file system on the CD over top of the CD-ROM folder. Instead of seeing the local folder CD-ROM, you now see the contents of the CD-ROM. But the path is the same, Media CD-ROM. In the same way, when you mount a remote NFS share, that share is mounted over an existing folder on the IFS. For our examples in subsequent articles, we'll be working with the IFS path RJS image doc NFS. The share will be mounted over the NFS subfolder, while the RJS image doc folder will remain local. If you try to mount an NFS share and you're not certain if it took, you can check easily using the worklink command and putting in option 8 on the folder in question. It will normally display local, but if a remote file system is mounted at that path, it will display remote. Now, a question you may have is, what happens if you mount over an IFS folder that is not empty? As you see here, the contents of the IFS folder still exist, but they are covered over, in a sense, by the mounted file system. The files that exist at that path on the local iSeries disk are unavailable as long as the foreign file system is mounted over that same path. When that mount is removed, the local contents are revealed and are accessible once again. Follow-up articles will address questions regarding best practices, security, and other common concerns. For your convenience, a list of additional resources is provided below this video. If you require assistance with configuring NFS with WebDocs iSeries, please contact RJS Technical Support at 1-800-RJS-SOFT or at support@rjssoftware.com.